Got my coffee in hand, and we're going to start another surf report for the 7th of September through the 13th, 2023. And this one's labeled Passion versus Responsibility. So we've got a heavy Venus influence, a heavy Jupiter influence, and a lot of Virgo. And we're heading towards a new moon, but that won't be this week, this surf week, that is.
Let's go surfing now. Everybody's learning now. Come on a safari with me.
Let's go surfing. Here's our summary slide. Remember, we're going to triangulate for the influence. That's this. And then we're going to triangulate for the solution. And that's, in my opinion, very vital this week. I think it's a pretty confusing week with the energies the way they are. And let's see what we have. We have the I-Ching that says repairing the damage. And that immediately brought me to kind of like a sense of Virgo, as we've been just kind of free willy and entertaining and, the Leo energy. Now it's a time to kind of grow up and see what mistakes we made and that kind of thing. And the I-Ching is all over that. And the Dreambot, I think, is a little bit more to do with this whole Venus thing. Venus square Jupiter. Venus now direct in Leo. So it's a lot of passion and desire. So we'll look at the Dreambot in accordance with that. So I don't see a lot of overlap between those two, but they're both very applicable to what's happening in the astrology. We have all those retrogrades. Our moon is progressing towards a new moon. So we're in the waning crescent. We're post last quarter moon. And we have the Mercury combust. It's going to fade completely this week. And then we have some Jupiter aspects. So let's just get started. Low congruency score, but this overlap just means that they're kind of butting heads. Should I be in my fun and passion, or should I be responsible? It's kind of like that inner conflict there, I think, is going to be how that expresses. And as far as the best comment, another week in a row for John Doe. Congratulations. You deserve it. And a close second to Milo. So shout out to both of you. Thank you for your comments. And thank you, everybody, for being here. All right. Here's our Dreambot. This is what's happening in people's dreams. The top word is chase. In fact, the linguistics, the top three words are this: chase, gigantic, intruder. Interesting, with all the alien and UFO buzzing going on right now. I find that's a very interesting linguistic set. And then we have the red arrows are looking good, feeling good. Very Venus-oriented thing in a clean, wholesome way. But yet there's this blue arrow meme that's sort of yearning for things, but in kind of a negative context, I think, in general, just general. It's not completely dark and evil. It's just sort of feels negative-ish. And so, that could be the retrograde in the Venus square Jupiter being in retrograde. In fact, all of the planets in retrograde, but the passion and the wanting to feel good and look good, all that's totally Venus in Leo. So that's where the collective is, in my opinion. Let's do the overview for the astrology, and this one being an important slide here. This little blue section is right before, it ends right before the Virgo new moon. So it's going to happen on the 13th. This surf prediction area ends on the 13th. So it'll be in the next surf report. That makes two surf reports without a full moon or a new moon. It happens occasionally, but generally speaking, every other surf report is going to either have a new moon or a full moon. And we don't even have, I think the last quarter happened in the last surf report. So we're all just waning crescent moon. But anyway, this will be our last new moon cycle, the last lunar cycle, Virgo, 30-day cycle ish, towards the Aries eclipse energy of this 6 months. This is all tropical, by the way. But that April 19th Aries eclipse is all about all of these are in service of bringing your inner warrior out. And then the next new moon in October is going to be a Libra eclipse. And we're going to shift towards justice and equality, and peace. So here we are with our monthly overview, our surf week. And we have a lot of retrograde planets. All the outer planets are retrograde. We got Mercury. It's retrograde for the entire surf week. And you'll see Mercury turning direct on the 15th. A day prior, that's the 14th. That's still outside of our surf week. That's going to be the new moon in Virgo. And then Venus and Jupiter in a retrograde, but square to each other. That square goes exact on the next surf report. So the next surf report is going to be a fairly robust. Now this one this week is more associated with those two energies, kind of the passion, the Venus in Leo energy, but also the Virgo undertone / heading towards the new moon. There's a lot of Virgo-ness. And so now take your eyes away from the actual chart, and we go down to our table and we see 5 earth signs and 5 mutable signs. And so we can get kind of like a backdrop on this canvas of energies that is very Virgo, because the mutable earth sign is Virgo. It just happens to be Sun and Mercury in there right now. Mercury's combust with 2.5 degrees away. So in other words, weakened. Even though Mercury is home to Virgo, we are having a little harder time thinking and remembering and communicating. So, and in addition to the Mercury retrograde. So on the 15th, that'll switch out, and they will be at least 8 degrees apart, if not more like 10 to 15. And we'll have our minds back, our thoughts a lot better. But that's also in a Virgo sense. So you're going to see more of the mistakes that were made, and that whole momentum towards, looking at maybe a little bit more pessimism, but finding problems and fixing them. That's the energy of Virgo, especially after a period of kind of haphazard, impulsive. Leo can sort of make mistakes as it emanates out to the world, and then we kind of grow up and grow more responsible. So passion versus responsibility. That's this week. All right. So starting with the backdrop, that's Virgo-ness. We have actual planets doing its thing in Virgo. But we also have this square. So that's the passion part. And this is an overindulging kind of an energy. We have Venus direct in Leo, square to Jupiter retrograde in Taurus. So there's an expansive sense of worth and maybe some monetary things and wealth. And this is, if you look at the other archetype meanings, with Jupiter being wealth and Venus being finances, you got finances aren't working too well towards wealth, and wealth returning. What is that like? Is that going back to an earlier wealth state? Also energetically is a kind of a pressure. So Venus that wants to go have fun in Leo and be seen and participate and be beautiful and be praised. and do well. If it's more of like an art performance, then wants to hit all the notes and do, or a really great artistry and painting. So it wants to be good. There's this pressure to be good, optimistic. There's a pressure to be expansive and feel expansive with the Jupiter. And the pressure to do it means it might overindulge because it doesn't know when to stop. And so it might see this as overspending. You might see this as an urge to eat more or more pleasure. More pleasure. Hard to stop. All right. And so these sort of battle, but I would like to kind of encourage you to start seeing this pressure here, especially when we get into the solution. It'll be very clear which way we're going to go, which way they recommend us to go. And you can take this added energy, the square, the Venus square Jupiter, and because Jupiter is more in an approaching perfected trine to Virgo Sun, you can take this pressure that is more irresponsible, not even thinking about irresponsibility. It's hard to be responsible in that, but you can take that pressure, that urge, the wants, and you can channel those to something more grounded, especially for Jupiter in Taurus. Because it's a trine, it's easy energy. So you can channel that pressure energetically towards, doing right, doing good, but it's going to be in a very positive sense. It's going to feel really good to be responsible just from this energy layout, for the ego to be responsible. And old synchronicities return to your experience with this Jupiter. That feels very grounded and positive. So there's your kind of highlights of the two big energies. The biggest going to be the Virgo because it has that backdrop. Here's where the one I just talked about, Sun trine Jupiter at 6:12 a.m. Central Daylight Savings Time, has gone perfected. It's gone exact in the trine. And so we can also look at from a further step out. We can go Virgo, just these two planets, Virgo trine Taurus. So fixing things reliably, patient with the details, practical critiques, if you will, thinking more discretionary. Meanwhile, you still have that Leo pressure to go have fun and just be exciting and be beautiful. And it's fairly strong, 3 degrees outside of an orb with this square. So a lot of pressure to be optimistic and overindulge. But I think the bigger energy is these multiple trine between Virgo and Taurus. And the solution will agree with that as well. So here's on Saturday the 9th. Mercury is still in retrograde, getting more clarity. And this still robust, this trine between Uranus and Jupiter, trine over to all things Virgo. And then just a reminder about the Pluto and Uranus. It's a very slow progressing, very transformative change into our 3D reality. Hopefully that Jupiter, although it's loose, it's like an 8-degree orb, so very subtle, is an influence on this big change and transformation between Pluto and Uranus. And Uranus brings in that technological aspects of it and liberty and rebelliousness. So that'll be an interesting transformation. Easy transformation, by the way. It won't feel good, but probably the change we're all waiting for. All right. We have Mercury retrograde returning to a non-combust at home in Virgo. So now it's really just the retrograde that we're playing with energetically with Mercury, but in 5 days, that'll change. And then we have the moon in the waning crescent, but in Leo, this really highlights, this energetically highlights the want, the desire, the urge to have fun, emotional, passion, and Leo and creative, childlike. So this is the battle between those energies. You can see it very clear here. Fun and entertaining. I went ahead and got a time slice here when Moon and Venus go exact. That's at 2:31, so it's going to be very entertaining, very easy to overindulge, repeating patterns of excess, because excessive Jupiter is in retrograde, so returning to old excesses. Easy to relapse. How about that? Easy to relapse on this day, Monday the 11th. That's September 11th, by the way. So there is a lot of responsibility there too. So you probably have both. As we talked about, Tuesday, same two energies. Now here's Wednesday, last day of our CIRF week. We have a grand Earth trine as we are within about 12 or 24 hours of the new moon. So grand Earth trine brings that Earth kind of backbone, but it's heavily weighted between now moon in Virgo. So 3 planets in Virgo, trine over to Jupiter and Uranus, both retrograde in Taurus. The new moon is going to be then on 9/14, so just outside of our CIRF week. And because it'll be in next week's CIRF, I just wanted to show you what that looks like. It's going to look a lot more organized than the chart I just showed you just at 24 hours prior. You're going to see a very robust, grand Earth trine, and most of that is between Virgo and Taurus. So holding your ground, being a little bit more bullheaded, especially during the change, during optimistic change. Okay, and still having fun is there, but this is, again, on the 14th at 8:39 p.m. Central Daylight Savings Time. It is not conjunct Mercury. Mercury is about to go shadow or station and then direct. And so that energy will shift. That'll bring that extra focus to Virgo. And so for the next 30 days from here is going to be our Virgo cycle towards the Aries bringing out your inner warrior. So it'll be the last lunar cycle to bring out your inner warrior. And in this cycle is going to be very much responsibility. So the whole point leading up to this is outside of our CIRF week. So what we want to do is relax. For the waning crescent moon, we want to make sure we're gaining energy for the new moon cycle. We don't want to be doing a bunch of stuff and then you move into the new moon energetically depleted. You don't want to be doing that. And that's an easy thing to do when you're got all this strong Virgo responsibility energy. Just remember that all week, I didn't talk about it, but Mars is in Libra in a detriment. So that does make things harder to get done. Makes projects last a little longer. It makes you don't have enough resources. You got to go back to Home Depot and get your stuff. That's the Mars in Libra. So that and the waning crescent moon up to all the way to Wednesday, all the way to September 14th is going to be waning crescent. So breathe, relax. Not a lot of output. It's more of a yin time, a yin to more meditation, more sleep, and just get your energy levels up to get ready for the Virgo new moon. And as we head into the I-Ching, we're continuing on the influence triangulation. So repairing the damage of hexagram 18 with 4 change lines. We're going to read every one of those. So it means hexagram 18 says when something is rotting, it is time to repair the damage. And self-indulgence and corruption grow like weeds in an untended garden. The self-indulgence is a very Venus square Jupiter alignment. So it's still happening and still influencing, but there's that strong Virgo essence around it to say, this is not what we want. There's a lot of damage. It's causing a lot of rotting. Eliminating corruption and the sloppiness that leads to it is an ennobling human enterprise. It clears the way for fresh new beginnings. That's what we're doing. We're clearing the way for the fresh new moon in Virgo. Line 2 says, among friends and intimates, a well-timed jest can be effective lance. So this, all you sarcastic and fun-loving people, this is your line. You can do that this week and get away with it. Line 3 says, what's done is done. You cannot unring the bell. So we need to not reflect too much on the past and just say, here's what we're dealing with, accept it, and then move to fix it. Line 4, what is spoiling might decay further unless you begin to turn things around. It is time to gather your resources and prepare for remedial action. Line 5 says resolve problems resulting from neglect. So you got all those things. They're pretty diverse. And this is our energy graph. The main one is the Virgo, and Virgo, specifically Virgo trine Taurus, is in the front half of our week. And you can see as Mercury has a lot of things happening on it, but coming out of combust, it ends on the 10th or Sunday. And so now it becomes even more Virgo because mental clarity is starting to happen. And then leading up to the grand Earth trine at a max. So this responsibility line is getting higher towards the end of the week. That's the same thing to be said about the Virgo square Jupiter. And I do want you to have awareness of that energy, the urges, the cravings to have fun and have, display your passion and live your passion. It's going to be there, but I don't think quite as strong here. But it is there, and it is strengthening as we get further in the week. So there's a little foreshadowing. I do have runes for today, so hang on. So here's our overview of the influence. We can see the lady just having fun and hanging out and not afraid of being seen. Very Leo thing. So then we have this guy pushing the ball uphill. So it's passion versus responsibility. The overall energy this week continues very strong Virgo undertones as we await the next new moon in Virgo on the 14th. We are starting to realize the mess we made in the earlier cycles. Meanwhile, passions pulse strong with Venus direct and squared to expansive Jupiter. The contradiction tears at the soul. Should I have more fun or should I be responsible? Later in the week, the detailed, analytical, and discretionary mind, ego, and emotions, or Mercury, Sun, and Moon, are all on heightened alert to pay attention and repair any damages found. So we'll get this solution ready, but we'll finish out our discussion, give you the background to the solution. It starts with putting all those change lines in, and we get, again, standstill, hexagram 12. And we're looking for solution-based words. Summon up your fortitude. Don't shine your light, simply withdraw. The wise take shelter in their own integrity and quietly remain faithful to their principles. This is a very Virgo solution. Retreat from public activities and common exchanges until the times favor direct action. And that's also that match to the waning crescent. It's a perfect corollary of a perfect suggestion for the waning crescent period. Concentrate on personal affairs with humble dignity. That is a very Virgo statement, even if it means letting go of some short-term rewards. And so you can see already the I-Ching says, okay, so in this struggle or this conflict between having fun and being responsible, it looks like the I-Ching suggests, let's just be responsible. By accepting some hardship while striving to maintain integrity, you are preparing for future growth. All right, then we got to put our stuff into the triangulation chart, and I'm choosing towards the end of the week, and this is when the waning moon is perfectly conjunct with Mercury, and because you've got mind and emotions. Mind is outside of combust, so mind is full up other than retrograde, and you got the emotions there. So mind and emotions are congruent. You've got the trine over to Jupiter. Oh, it's very expansive sense of responsibility and creativity, all things Virgo. But anyway, you get that's in the hexagram 40 of the Rave Mandala, and you get a Leo sidereal solution. So here's hexagram 40 is deliverance, the point of transition between struggle and liberation. This is a very powerful hexagram from the Rave. It's hexagram 40, gate 40. And specifically Mercury and the moon coming from the direct location, and Mercury in retrograde means that Mercury is going to go through all of these lines, and they're going to meet at humility, a calculated mode in deliverance to avoid attracting the attention of negative forces. So at a minimum, this may not be all week, but a big part of the end of the week is going to be get out of the limelight. Don't follow that Venus desire thing, especially towards the end of the week. It says the subtlety to enjoy deliverances without having to flaunt it. The capacity of the ego to avoid negative forces, even if it means being alone. So the whole point here, towards the end of the week, you really want to stay away from attracting any sort of attention, unwanted attention, especially attracting negative attention. All right, let's put it all together for you. And then we'll get into the runes. All right, so here's what we're triangulating. And this is just as problematic or difficult or incongruent as the influence. And there's a reason for that. All right, so the I-Ching 12 says stand still. It just says retreat from public places temporarily. Concentrate on your personal affairs. Don't make big changes. These are all directly associated with the Virgo influence and also the waning crescent moon. Then the Rave does seem to agree with the waning crescent. It says avoid attracting negative forces, but that's going to be a hard thing for Leo because Leo's not afraid of any negative forces. So if we have that strong Leo influence, we also are directed to do the Sidereal Leo solution. And now that's friendly and charismatic. It's creative and optimistic, but it can also be impulsive. So we need to avoid impulsive, but we also have to avoid attention seeking. That's the big contradiction between Leo and the rave. Well, actually, Leo and the I-Ching. So the I-Ching wants you to kind of just do your own thing, just, go quiet, but your personal affairs, you're kind of receding backward. Leo doesn't recede. Leo gets bigger. So what we have to do is just take the portions of Leo that are beneficial for this triangulation. That's going to be the friendly and charismatic and optimistic and creative and organized and kind. We're just going to avoid arrogance, avoid attention seeking, and avoid impulsiveness. All right, and let's do the reading here. The rave opens our triangulation with deliverance, gate 40, which indicates that any applied effort from the above influence will best be utilized towards the great transition. Now, the great transition's coming from deliverance, the rave. And the transition is from struggle to liberation. So it's sort of like a cleanup and preparation time, if you can see that according to the rave. Clean up, get ready, and what we're getting ready for is the new moon on the 14th. For success in this transition, we need to combine the best aspects of Sidereal Leo with the I-Ching 12. Use the strength and fire of Leo to remain bold, optimistic, creative, and you can even throw, you can defend your boundaries. Okay. At the same time, the I-Ching suggests to stay away from public venues and avoid getting attention. Now, they didn't say, to be honest, they didn't say avoid all attention. They just say avoid attracting negative forces. So if you want to play it safe, then you would just avoid getting any attention. That's just a hard thing to do when you're trying to invoke the Leo energy, or the Leo solution, sorry. This is a good time to take care of your private personal affairs, according to the I-Ching. It's a good time to retreat and relax, according to the waning crescent moon. And it's about having fun and staying really positive. That's the Leo energy. Remain bold and optimistic, but recede back to more private matters, making sure to relax, unwind, and fully recharge to properly prepare for the upcoming tropical Virgo new moon on Thursday the 14th. So the statement that I think would be helpful for me says, I easily and efficiently repair my life to help with the great transition. And the transition, again, from struggle to liberation. All right, we got all that. It is time for the runes. And what I've selected, by the way, this is brought to you by Intervention Therapy. If you're interested or on the road to more inner peace, go to intervention.com. All right. Have chosen the Elhaz, and that's what it looks like. It's the crow's feet pointed upward. And this is for protection and defense. And this was mainly the main focus from the rave, which I believe was at the very center of that triangulation. And so I think avoiding negative forces, avoiding negative attention, I think is paramount. So I'm going to use the Elhaz as one, and that's used for protection from negative energy and people. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. And then the other one is combined with our grander, bigger cycle of Aries eclipse energy, bringing out our inner warrior. We're closing in on the last few weeks of that. And so I want to make sure Tiwaz is up there. And that's going to invoke success, victory in competition, strength and willpower and courage, healthy masculine energy. All right. With those two, I hope to have a very just quiet week, much more quiet than we've seen in the last few weeks. Boy, it's been busy and just kind of tired of all the repairing and damage. That was physical reality repairing. Still not done. We got a little bit more to go here, at least in our area, neck of the woods. But don't give up now, folks. We got to stay in the game, stay engaged, keep the Virgo essence going, and be responsible, and protect yourself as well. Protection and defense. And you don't want to be spending a lot of energy unless you have to. All right? Get energized for the new moon in Virgo. All right, that's all I have, everybody. I hope you have a very great week. I hope you know what it is the suggestions are, and be interested to hear how that went. Did the solution help you? Did you do the solution, and did it bring you success? Did it bring you a sense of fulfillment? I want to know. All right, we'll see you next week, and we'll do that new moon in Virgo. All right, everybody, take care. Namaste.